Well, as my accent will quickly give away, I'm a transplanted American. And you've already heard I have 11 children. I've given birth in 3 different countries and several different states. And I've had attendance of midwives, OBs, nurses, doulas, my husband, my mother, and my mother-in-law. I've delivered babies in a birthing center with 3 midwives who cycled through 30.5 hours of labor. I've delivered at home, kneeling on my bathroom floor, while snow fell gently outside the window. I have sat on a birthing stool in my bedroom with my feet propped up on ammo boxes that my husband kept under the bed for hunting. And I was on a birthing stool for that one. I've used a birthing ball in a hospital with an OB nurse in attendance who had never in her life seen a natural birth and who wept through my entire delivery and said, "I'm becoming a midwife tomorrow." I've lain on my side in my own bed as my 5th child came smiling into the world and looked at my mother and turned her head and looked at me and just grinned. Nothing can compare to that. I've waited an hour and a half between twins in a hospital ward where the very relaxed OB had to keep telling the nervous nurses to just chill and let me do what I wanted to do, which included going, I think this one just wants to stay there now. So would you mind if I hop off the table and kind of wiggle a bit? And the nurses are all like, it's horror. And I stood up. Yeah, he's down now, ready. Jump back up, whoosh. Baby number 7 came out with his foot in his mouth. And we named him Patrick Henry after America's greatest orator. So he'll always have that as his little intro as he goes through life. I have had my husband very calmly and collectedly deliver a baby at home who came in 45 minutes and wouldn't wait for us to actually get to the doctor. He had his cord around his neck. My husband just looped the cord off very calmly, put him on my chest, put the towel out of the dryer he'd thought to put in, and then we waited for the ambulance to arrive, and they went, "Oh, I see there's really nothing to do. You must need some oxygen." I felt they had to do something, I guess. I had a mother of 6 and an OB nurse explain to me after 13 hours of labor, and me thinking, 13 hours? I mean, come on, this is the 9th. This can't be right. It should just come fast. And she said, "Sweetheart, that baby's stuck in your pelvis, and you need to lie down. And I know that's against everything your midwives have told you. Just lie down." 5 minutes later, my baby was born, and I said, "Where were you 12 hours ago?" And then I have been in a Kenyan hospital with 2 midwives and an OB, spoiling me, feeding me, and just really celebrating with me as my 10th came into the world with me on my hands and knees and letting me do what I wanted to do. And then beautifully last year in the Western Cape, I had Ruth Earhart and Debbie Engelbrecht come and help my 11th very gently and peacefully slide into the world in a beautiful morning and be put on my chest, and she's such a happy baby. And I really think that how we birth relates directly to the personalities of our children and actually how they go through life. The kid who came in 45 minutes and couldn't wait, he is my 7-year-old ball of fire. He does everything quickly. That twin who hung out for an hour and a half and said, "Nah, happy in here." He's very happy and laid back, does everything very concernedly and thinks about things. So I really think the way we approach birth actually directs the way our children develop and grow up. And if we're nervous and fearful, I think often our children could end up picking that up and becoming nervous and fearful themselves. The only place I haven't given birth yet is outside and in the water. So I thought maybe for number 12, that's where we'll go. And I always knew I wanted a big family. I just had to meet the man who also agreed, and he's back there, the handsome guy with the beard. He's the guy who turned green when I mentioned home birth the first time I was pregnant, and kind of gritted his teeth and let me do what I wanted to do. And I said, "Okay, when the stuff comes after the baby, I'll just take the baby and leave, and you can do that other stuff." Which now he's like, "Oh, placenta, blood, yeah, great. Here, can I carry it out for you?" So he's become the best birth assistant in the world. My mom is the one I really credit with giving me the ability to embrace birth and go with the natural route. Because from about age 14, when I got interested in midwifery, she fed me a steady diet of books. I read everything from Sheila Kitzinger, Brantley Dick Reed, Michelle Odent, Frederick LeBoyer, Juliana von Oppenfair, who is a US midwife who started a midwifery school near us when I was pregnant with my first. And all those books and listening to them talk, I actually got to meet Juliana, it just inspired me to become an expert in what would happen in my body when I was pregnant and when I was delivering. I wanted to know all about it. How do the hormones affect the mother and the baby? How is there a connection between the brain of the mother and the baby? What does diet do to build us up during pregnancy and also heal us after we've delivered? What exercises can we do to carry a child or children all the way to term and then come back and be healthy afterwards? And it's a marathon to go through childbirth. We should be training just like athletes do. And after a baby comes, you want that time of relaxing and getting to know the baby, but then you also want to focus on how do I strengthen this core again so that if I want to have another one, I can do that safely. I really think birthing is our superpower. And I want my daughters to look forward to it and embrace it instead of fearing it. And that's the gift my mom gave me was, don't fear it. She was a pioneer herself. She was knocked out when she had me. And she said, I don't ever want to do that again. I want to be there. And so for my sister, she actually did the whole Lamaze breathing stuff. And my dad got to go in with her and she said, that's the way it should be done. So that's how she empowered her daughters. My sister has 10 children. She just gave birth at home to her latest. My brother also has 10 children. It's kind of a funny thing. It's not like we all had a pact to have this many kids, but we all do have a lot of children, and we've all managed to have very healthy birth outcomes. Sometimes there's been C-sections, and sometimes there's been VBACs, and we've had all kinds of things. I was really intrigued to read several years ago that molecular biologists had found out that every child a woman carries donates stem cells to the mother. And they're found floating around in our brains, and they're actually found healing parts of our body and going to places where there's disease. So there really is a physical connection between mother and child. And I think even my 9-year-old twin, my oldest one, jokes that, Mom, the reason you look so young is because for every child you carry, you lose a year of age. So actually you're only 33. Oh wait, now you're only 32 because you have 11. I'm like, good math, son, thanks. So I don't think, though, we need experts to tell us what we already know. There really is a transformation when we give birth to a child. Every one of my deliveries has been a journey. It's been a revelation. And it doesn't matter if you've had 1 child or 11 children. Every pregnancy just strips you down to who you really are elementally and asks you to rise up and take this challenge. And for me, every time I give birth, it's like recovering from amnesia, because I do forget how heavy I feel in the last 2 weeks. And I really do forget that deep in the night you start going, I don't know if I can do this again. I mean, this thing has to come out. Yeah, it's gonna hurt. You know, you forget about that. And then you forget about how in the middle of labor, you seem to be all alone. And there's nobody there, and you go into this white space in your own head, and you surf through that contraction, and you breathe through it, and you open your eyes, and you're kind of shocked that there's actually other people in the room with you. So it's wonderful to have that smiling support there. And then at the end, when you think that head's not coming out, no, that head is never coming out, and the midwife's going, yes, the head is coming out, and you want it to come out, and you're gonna do it, and you do. And then you have that new little person in your arms, and you're amazed. So when we treat birth as an empowering event and a rite of passage, I think we open our daughters to joy, and we give them the tools to make healthy decisions for their own births. That's why my daughters are part of my birth stories. I want them to know all about them. I did try to get them to come to latest birth, and they were kind of like, well, I don't know, it'll be messy, and I don't want to see it. One day I hope maybe they'll want to see that. I think as women, we need to become BHDs, doctors of birthology. Each one of you should have the knowledge of how your body works and what it does in birth. And even if you're not giving birth yourself, you're helping clients, you want to empower them to say, I can do this. My body was designed to do this. It knows what to do. And yes, there are times when we need interventions, but to give each woman that story of how they came through their birth and they brought that human being into the world is a powerful thing. And it makes us want to teach the next generation so that this spreads. And we go forward into another century where more and more women are confident about what they can do. And that's what I love about my midwives is they do love birth. They love it. They're enthusiastic about it. They're excited. They listen to your concerns. When you go to an OB, it's often like tick, 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 okay, 5 minutes, bye, you're done. See you next month. Whereas a midwife, it's like visiting with a friend. Do you want a cup of tea? Can we talk about your diet? Are there any questions you have? And you can really ask them. So I just have a great sense of trust for all my midwives because they've been with me. It's like my partners in the battlefield. They're in the trenches with me. They've sweated and bled with me. And that's the inheritance I want to give to my own daughters. And I want to say thank you to all of you who are midwives and doulas and birth supporters because you really are the ones forging ahead and helping women to have these birth stories where they can say, I did it, I made it, I came through it, and I brought this life into the world. What a great gift. What an incredible gift to just look and say, this human being was in my body and is now in my arms. So we need each other, and I think our superpower, if you're not having a baby, your superpower is nurturing other women. That support network is so important for postpartum recovery, for not having such high rates of depression, and for having women go forward and feel like they too can help others. So thank you. Thank you for being those super women and helping us all to have successful birth stories.